If your income stopped tomorrow, what would still be working for you? Not your reputation, not your visibility, not the deals you closed last year. What systems would still be producing income? If you're a commission-based professional, an entrepreneur, a real estate investor, a small business owner, or a high-income earner whose lifestyle depends on production, you understand something most people never think about. Income has momentum. As long as you're producing, negotiating, selling, performing, or building, the machine keeps moving. Money comes in, bills get paid, life expands. But the moment production slows, everything underneath your life becomes visible. The obligations remain, the expectations remain, the lifestyle remains, because income can create the illusion of stability, while the structure underneath it is fragile. And that's the pressure most income earners quietly carry. Not whether they can earn, but whether the system beneath them can survive if they stop, which leads to the question most people avoid asking themselves. If your income stopped tomorrow, what would still be working for you? There's a psychological trap built into success. Ownership feels powerful. When you buy the house, the cars, the lifestyle, the symbols of success, it feels like progress. Income feels like security. When money is consistently coming in, it's easy to assume the system is working, and visibility often feels like wealth. When people see success, they assume stability. But there's a structural difference between income and protection. Ownership without structure equals exposure. If income flows through your personal name, if assets are tied directly to you, if legal obligations attach directly to you, then success can actually increase your risk. Because the bigger the income becomes, the bigger the exposure becomes. And few careers illustrate this tension better than Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was one of the most recognizable athletes of the 1990s. 5 NBA championships, 7 rebounding titles, 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He wasn't just successful, he was dominant in a role that required relentless effort and physical sacrifice. Rodman built his reputation doing the things other players didn't want to do: rebounding, defense, intensity. But Rodman's fame went far beyond basketball. The hair, the personality, the headlines. He became one of the most visible athletes in the world. Playing alongside Michael Jordan during the Chicago Bulls dynasty placed Rodman at the center of global sports culture. At the height of his career, Rodman earned tens of millions of dollars in NBA salary alone. That doesn't include endorsements, appearances, books, media deals, and promotional opportunities that followed his fame. Massive income, massive visibility, massive opportunity. From the outside, it looked like wealth, but income and wealth are not the same thing. And Rodman's story shows how quickly those two can diverge. In 2012, Rodman appeared in court during a legal dispute involving unpaid child support. The case involved hundreds of thousands of dollars in alleged unpaid obligations. During the proceedings, Rodman's attorney made a statement that surprised many observers. They said Rodman was essentially broke. The claim raised a question that appears repeatedly across professional sports and entertainment. How does someone who earned tens of millions of dollars reach a point where financial obligations become overwhelming? The answer often isn't simply spending, it's structure. Because high income without structure creates a fragile financial system. Let's examine the structural layers involved. First, legal separation. One of the foundational principles in the O.N.C.E. framework is separating income generation from personal exposure. That usually involves entities like LLCs, holding companies, and structured ownership systems. When income flows directly into a person's name, every legal obligation attaches directly to that person. Child support calculations are based on personal income. Legal disputes target personal assets. Financial exposure expands as income expands. Without legal separation, the individual becomes the center of the financial system, which means every obligation points directly at them. Second, protection layers. Professional athletes often experience dramatic income spikes. A contract can generate millions of dollars over a short period of time. But financial obligations frequently extend far beyond those peak earning years. Support obligations, legal settlements, taxes, and long-term lifestyle expectations. If the financial structure is built around income rather than assets, those obligations continue even when income slows. The problem isn't that the income wasn't large enough. The problem is that the structure wasn't designed to outlive the income. Third, asset conversion. High income only becomes durable wealth when it is converted into assets. Real estate, business ownership, equity positions, intellectual property, assets that continue generating income after the individual stops producing. Rodman's career lasted 14 seasons in the NBA. That's a long career in professional sports, but it's still short compared to a normal working lifetime. If peak income years aren't used to build long-term asset systems, financial pressure eventually returns once those years end. This is a pattern we see repeatedly across sports and entertainment. Massive income, minimal structure, then financial strain once the spotlight fades. Rodman's lifestyle during his career also reflected something common among high-visibility earners. The lifestyle expands alongside the income. Travel, entertainment, public appearances, an entourage. These things often become part of the identity of success, and none of them are necessarily the problem on their own. The structural issue appears when lifestyle expands faster than asset development. Because lifestyle produces expenses, assets produce income. If income slows but expenses remain, pressure begins to build. Which brings us back to the central structural question. If your income stopped tomorrow, what would still be working for you? What entities exist? What assets generate cash flow? What contracts continue paying you regardless of your activity? What intellectual property continues producing income? What leverage systems remain in place? Because income is temporary, structure determines whether wealth survives the end of production. The purpose of studying cases like Dennis Rodman's isn't criticism, it's clarity. If a structural framework had been implemented early in a high-income career, several things could look very different. Income could flow through operating entities rather than directly through the individual. Holding companies could separate asset ownership from operational risk. Real estate investments or equity positions could convert peak income years into long-term cash flow systems. Trust structures could isolate assets from certain types of legal exposure, and lifestyle expansion could follow asset growth rather than replace it. The difference is sequencing. Without structure, income builds lifestyle. With structure, income builds systems. And the lesson extends far beyond professional athletes. If you're an employee, entrepreneur, investor, or creator, the structural principles are the same. Never operate meaningful revenue directly in your personal name. Separate asset ownership from operating risk whenever possible. Convert high-income periods into assets that generate long-term income. Build protection layers early instead of waiting until problems appear. And design financial systems that survive visibility. Because success often increases exposure, structure reduces that exposure. If this type of structural thinking is new to you, I've built a free community where we break down these principles step by step. Inside the community, we analyze real-world cases like this and translate them into practical systems that entrepreneurs, professionals, and investors can implement. You can join using the link below and start learning the framework behind these ideas. Because the wealthy don't focus on ownership, they focus on control. They don't build income, they build structure. Income is temporary. Structure determines whether wealth survives success. Own nothing. Control everything.